time.
Thank you for that. Um, so this was on my mind and my heart for a couple weeks. Um, a strange salvation, and it is just a lot of stuff that's going on that I've been seeing for a while, and usually I always like to talk about like prophetic type things and possible signs and things that's going on in the world, but I haven't done any type of class about it before. I looked at an old class that I have. I don't think it's on the channel, but an old class that I have, and I think it was maybe a couple years, maybe 2 years, a year or two, and it's so many things that's just been happening that I saw in there that was like, wow, it's the Most High. He does things how he wants to do them, but we've seen a pattern of how the Most High does things gradually, and then to those that's not paying attention, it seems like it just happened all of a sudden. So we'll talk about a few of those things today, but we're just gonna come at it mostly from like a certain angle today, and then go at it from another angle the next time. So a strange salvation. A strange salvation. So this is from Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5. And let me turn to it because I can get the other context. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5. So Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5. Chapter 4 is kind of important too, but it's basically talking about the difference between the righteous and the unrighteous. So verse 5 and 1 says, "Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors. When they shall see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, the unrighteous, and the nations, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they look for. So far beyond all that they look for." I'm going to just keep reading a little bit further. "And they, repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit, shall say within themselves, This was he whom we had sometimes in derision, a proverb of reproach." Like how those people we had in slavery, those people we called a proverb, the N word, byword, those people, we fools accounted his life madness and his end to be without labor. How was he numbered among the children of YAHAWAH? They're the children of YAHAWAH, and his lot among the saints. Therefore have we erred from the way of the truth, and the light of righteousness have not shined unto us, and the sun of righteousness have not rose upon us. So it goes on and on and on. But the key here is that the salvation of the Most High is going to be so strange, that it's going to have the people in derision, the people in astonishment. Um, Tazaba Abijah.
Uh, Water. No, when you was reading that Kathab, two witnesses popped in my head. There was most of you probably too young. He's not part of our community, but there's this I guess he's a white blues singer. I don't know what you would call his genre, but his name was Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash was I guess a rock and roll singer. That's his genre, and he had a song years ago before most of us was born. He had a song where he says, "I've been working like a nigger for my pay all day," and it's just one of the witnesses that we became that byword. We became the example of just slaving and downtrodden, and then we all heard that phrase I've been working like a Hebrew slave. So the Most High's word is right and exact, and it's been right in our eyes the whole time. It's just He's just waking our eyes up to see these witnesses. So I just wanted to add that as a witness. I yield the water up.
Thawada, I appreciate it. I appreciate the witness. Definitely needed. Definitely needed, man. If anybody's input is welcome, for sure. I feel like I know my mind has been all over the place, so I definitely appreciate it. So it says that they shall be amazed at the strangeness of the Most High's salvation. Now we know too that the Most High's word, like I said earlier, he said that it does not come back void. So let's turn to Isaiah chapter 55, 10, verse 10, and I'm going to read 10 through 13. And I learned something last night reading this. I already had it highlighted, but I didn't have it highlighted probably for the reasons that I thought of yesterday or last night. Um, Isaiah 55 and 10. It says, "For as the rain come down, and the snow from the Shemayim, and returneth not thither, but watereth the earth, and make it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that go forth out of my mouth." So he's saying like how the rain or the rain, the snow, and things like that come down out of the sky, out of the heavens. They don't come back. They don't like leave, but they perform a work to nurture the ground, which in turn can produce fruit. So he's saying, "So shall his word be that go forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it." That's how you know, like the Most High, if you really get like the metaphor, he be giving us so many metaphors like a rapper. So like that's how I know like we connected to the Most High when you really think about that, like because that could be a bar, especially if you say it in Hebrew, the words and everything is gonna rhyme. So he's comparing his word to rain or snow, and he says, "It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. For ye shall go out with joy, and be led forth with peace. The mountains and the hills shall break forth before you into singing. The mountains and the hills shall break forth before you into singing, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands." A strange salvation. "Instead of the thorn shall come up the fir tree, and instead of the briar shall come up the myrtle tree, and it shall be to Yahweh for a sham, for a name, for a everlasting sign that shall not be cut off." Now, this part I wanted to say that it made me think about if y'all been paying attention to the classes we've been doing back to back to back. One of the weeks we did Bahasham for the Sharash Ibar, and I was saying how something in my spirit told me to choose that word because I felt that it was more than just in the name, and I was saying that it was like we know now too that it's like your representation, it's your fame, it's what you're known for. But I was like, it's also a sign, or it's by your mark, or by his mark, or through his mark. So when we come to the Most High, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, it's letting the Most High know, like, hey, I'm coming through your son. He marked me, so I'm a part of him. I'm with him. It's kind of like that type of thing. And seeing this right here, it's a witness to that because how we say the text a lot of times give you definitions to what the words mean right after it. So it says, "Instead of a thorn shall come up the fir tree, instead of the briar shall come up the myrtle tree, and it shall be to Yahweh for a name." How is it to Yahweh for a name? Like his name is Yahweh. It's for a sign. And it tells you that for an everlasting sign that shall not be cut off. That's why I was saying, like, I was like, wow, this Hebrew for one, it lets us know we're on the right track. It lets us know that we're on the right track. It shall be to Yahweh for a name, for a mark, for a sign. And that's all the things we've been talking about, even last week. A sign upon your hand. So just those that are marked by the Most High will be able to experience the thorn not coming up, but a fir tree instead, um, and the myrtle tree coming up instead of the briar. Um, and this sign is a sign, an everlasting sign that shall not be cut off from the Most High. So that is Isaiah chapter 55 and 13. If you just think about what we talked about last week with the Atah, which is like the Most High's mark, the mark of the covenant, or simply means a sign. Like if you separated these two characters, the Ah is a, and the Ta is a sign, a sign, a Ta, sign. So I saw that and I just was like, all praise to the Most High for that witness, just learning something on the way to learning something. Um, if that makes sense to you or anything like that, of course you can unmute or just type something in the chat, type a one in the chat, whatever. But that stuck out to me. That shows that these definitions, these words have more than one meaning. Name meaning representation, name meaning your fame, name meaning your name or your function of what you do, and also name as an everlasting sign. So all praises to the Most High for that. So we talked about it last week, and I just kind of wanted to start off with that because a sign or a ta can also be a omen or a warning. A omen or a warning. So the Most High, like today, having the the eclipse, the partial eclipse this morning. We're still waiting to see, what these things all mean. We know that it in the text sometimes is related to coming judgment when we talk about like blood moons and things like that. So we do have actual text for that. But a sign can be a warning or an omen. We didn't talk too much about that part. Um, but the Most High is going to have things befall upon the world, befall upon the earth, and we are to take these things as signs because um, He's left us warnings through prophets like Baruch, Ezra, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel. Also, the Messiah himself came and told us things to watch out for, omens and signs, atah, warnings, right? So,
Slakia.
go ahead, Op.
I just want to say all praise to the Most High confirmation. This is a word from the Most High. Right before I logged on, uh, Obadiah Yahoo, the singer, he was on a live, and the title of his live was called. He said it was a warning and sign to the people. So it's just crazy that I seen that and now you're talking about it. So it's lining up over here, Oxel. All praise to the Most High.
All praises to the Most High for that witness, man. I actually clicked on that for a half a second by accident, but I didn't know, what he was talking about. So that's all praises for that, man, for sure. I appreciate it, and it just shows like the Most High is working with His people and putting it on our hearts, man, to say certain things. So we've seen a lot of things go on, and I'm gonna point some of them out here to start. And one thing that I like that I knew I read it before, but because we're scattered all over the world, a lot of times people look at these different judgments and things like that, and they say, "Oh, that's just." in Jerusalem, or if that's just in Israel, or if that's just in Iran, or Syria is in the Bible, or that was just Egypt, or whatever they say. But talking about the latter days and the end times, Barak, to say his name correctly, Barak, he asked the Most High. That's what I love. They're just asking straight up. And he said in chapter 28, he asked the Most High, he says, if I found grace in your sight, is it in one place or in one of the parts of the earth that those things are to come to pass, or will the whole earth experience them? Now, if I were to bring out 27, which I have done before, in 27, he's going through 12 parts of different things that are to come. So I'm not going to go over that fully today, um, but it's pretty much something similar that I'll go over right after this. So he's asked, he just showed them all of these judgments in chapter 27 and signs and things to come. So then he's asking him, is this just one part of the world, or is this the whole earth? And then when you flip over to 29, verse 1, it says, and he answered and said unto me, whatsoever will then befall will befall the whole earth, and therefore all who live will experience them. For at that time I will protect only those who are found in those self-same days in this land. And then he talks about how, verse 3, and it shall come to pass when all is accomplished that was to come to pass in those parts, that Hamashiach shall then begin to be revealed. So he's saying that these signs and judgments that are to come, it's going to be a time where we are all back in the land of the Most High, and in His land is where, you know, the people will be protected. Also, too, the Most High, He said that after He listed all those different judgments, which we'll go over some, He said that verse 15 in chapter 27, some shall leave out of their own and receive it in its stead for others, and some shall complete their own and that of others, so that those may not understand who are upon the earth in those days that this is the consummation of the times. So what that means is he was listing them in order, like saying one part would be fire, one part would be earthquakes, one part would be this, and one part would be confusion, and one part would be a slumber. So then at the end, he comes back and says he's gonna mix all these things up, so one may leave out of its stead and go out of order, so that those who are under that stupor and not seeking him diligently, they won't even understand that this is the consummation of the times happening. So when you see, it's not going to be a sequential order of things in terms of plagues and things like that that we see upon the earth, if that makes sense. So he asked them, is this going to be in one part, or is it going to be the whole earth? The Most High said it's going to be in the whole earth. So I talked about this before. So instead of going over the plagues from Baruch, which they do match, they have a lot of similarities. I didn't want to read both today. I'm just going to go over this part of the Apocalypse of Abraham. It's like an extra biblical text, and how I choose to use these or verify these is I read them, and then I see if the words match what other texts have said before, because I know we have a lot of Israelites who, you know, is KJV only, or is, you know, the 66 and the Apocrypha only, things like that. But I read everything and just see how things match up by the 2 or 3 witnesses principle that we've been taught by the Most High. So I definitely want to put that out there. You definitely got to pray and be in discerning. We can't believe everything, but I mean, if I see the same thing 5 times, I mean, I'd be a fool to just discredit everything at that point. So the Apocalypse of Abraham, chapter 30, starting at verse 2. It says, and he said to me, Abraham, I shall tell you what your heart desired, for you have sought to know the 10 plagues which I prepared against the heathen. And I prepared them beforehand after the passing of the 12 hours on the earth. Hear what I tell you, it will be thus. The first, distress from much violence. The second, the fiery burning of cities. The third, destruction of the cattle by pestilence. The fourth, famine in their native land. The fifth, destruction in their domains through the ravage of earthquake and sword. Sixth, hail and the increase of snow. Seven, wild beasts will become their grave. Eight, famine and pestilence will take turns in their destruction. The ninth, punishment by sword and flight in distress. The 10th, thunder and voices and ravaging earthquakes. Then I shall sound a trumpet from the sky, and I shall send my chosen one, Messiah, having in one measure all of my power, and he will summon my people blamed among the heathen. And I shall burn with fire those who mock them and ruled over them. But I wasn't even supposed to go that far. But so we see the Most High telling Abraham way back when the plans of things to come on the earth. So I just wanted to focus on a couple for now, and it may be more the next time. But for now, I just want to focus on a couple. So he talks about the fiery burning of cities, and I didn't cover the 12 parts that he talked about in the Apocalypse of Barak in chapter 27, but he married what he said to him from Abraham. So he says in the 9th part, it shall be the fall of fire, the fall of fire. And in the Apocalypse of Abraham, he said it would be the fiery burning of cities. So I made this video yesterday and posted it on social media, kind of about this same topic, because it's a lot of things that's been happening, and it's been happening for years. This is just what's going on literally right now, from January, February till today, literally right now. So it's a quick little video, and then I'll ask if anyone wants to make a comment, and then we'll go forward.
It's shocking video showing the absolute devastation in the Pacific Palisades. The footage reveals mile after mile of scorched earth where beautiful homes once existed.
The devastation is complete and just jaw-dropping.
Officials now say thousands of structures have burned to the ground.
A towering inferno, teetering dangerously close to homes in this Florida neighborhood. This is a growing ring of fire forces Carolinians to flee the flames. In Polk County, North Carolina, 3 wildfires burning nearly 7,000 acres of land. Greenville, South Carolina, crews have been working around the clock, doing whatever they can to contain the blaze. The Table Rock fire burning nearly 2,500 acres.
Every day, the South Korean wildfires are claiming more land and more lives. A terrifying wave of flames ripped across the hills of Gyeongsang province overnight, fueled by strong winds. Storm strength gusts have intensified the speed of the fires and the damage inflicted.
So from the last 90 to 120 days, we've been seeing all sorts and types of things, because another one that he said was going to happen was the increase of snow, and we had some interesting things with snow a few months back as well, but I didn't put that in here today. But the fiery burning of cities, man, we seen California just getting burned to the ground, right in Hollywood, right in LA. And now we have South Carolina and North Carolina, especially up there in near that area where they had the hurricane, and a lot of the western parts. It's kind of going like through western South and western North Carolina and on up. I seen some stuff about Florida too, but it wasn't enough. I didn't put that in here. And then also South Korea. South Korea is going through crazy wildfires right now as well, and it just makes sense because the Most High said this is going to befall the whole earth, the whole earth. So did anyone want to comment on that? I never really heard of North Carolina struggling with wildfires like that, but did anyone have any comments about this part?
Can I be heard clear?
Time.
Okay. Uh, yeah, I just wanted to land back off what you said in regards to what's been going on in these cities, especially, North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, and California. It's so funny or crazy that North Carolina dealing with wildfires as well as much snow, the flooding, the hurricanes. The hurricanes maybe not so as much, but the mountainous area being flooded, but the Piedmont and the coastal area being just fine. That was strange. But more so when it comes to the West Coast as well as Georgia and Florida, they've been getting either just as much or even more snow than we have in the past 2 or 3 years. And I don't know if anybody paid attention to that, but I have friends in Georgia and Florida, and they, like, for the past 2 years consistently, they've been getting snow that sticks. And I just made a mental note of it, but I just want to say that.
Yep, like I said, I probably put more about that in the coming days, and the next time I be paying attention, so I seen that too. I think Aquath Joy, she wanted to say as well. She was showing me just now that it says Texas faces half a year's worth of rain as rare severe storms threaten the Pacific Northwest. And then they face possible large hailstones and tornadoes. Even as of one was 2 days ago, and one is well, I couldn't really say because it could be an older photo, but it's a lot of this stuff is happening that's like outrageously sized storms and things like that. And one of the judgments here said the increase of hail and snow. Matter of fact, Toronto had a crazy hailstorm because one of my old associates, he said he had to claim through his insurance because his car got destroyed or really badly messed up through the hailstorm that they had. So yeah, it's been a lot of stuff going on with that, man. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's been happening. Things been happening back to back to back. I should probably say something about it. So the next one, I only got, this is only, I think this is the last one for today as far as this part goes. My computer is a little older, so it definitely don't like playing these videos. So I just limited it to these two, I think, and one towards the end. But also in the Apocalypse of Abraham, he said destruction with earthquake and sword, and he said it again, thunder, voices, and ravening earthquakes. And then the Apocalypse of Barak, he told him earthquakes and terrors. So that's our two witnesses. And just recently, there's been a major earthquake.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Errol Barnett at the CBS Broadcast Center here in New York City. We begin this hour with breaking news out of Asia. A powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake has just rocked central Myanmar a number of hours ago, and it's at this early stage that we can report at least 3 confirmed deaths. That number is expected to rise. Now, at this moment, you're looking at some of the footage coming into our newsroom right now. The full scale of damage is still unknown, but an official in the country has told the AFP news agency that a major hospital in Myanmar's capital is now a, quote, mass casualty area. Now, the U.S. Geological Survey says the powerful quake struck at around 1:20 p.m. local time, so early afternoon, at a depth of just 6 miles, which is relatively shallow. And it sent tremors causing damage hundreds of miles away in Bangkok. That footage you're seeing at the top left of your screen is from Bangkok. A high-rise building there that was under construction collapsed, reportedly trapping at least 43 workers who were on site at the time. Now, rescue workers are currently reporting that the rubble at that construction site where the building collapsed is just too unstable to attempt any type of rescue efforts for workers who are likely trapped inside at this moment. Now, strong tremors have also been felt in China. An aftershock has just been reported with a magnitude of 6.4. That in and of itself is quite powerful. And we will be connecting with our correspondents in the region soon, and we'll bring you an update from them later this hour. So that breaking news out of Asia that a powerful 7.7 earthquake has just...
So before we go forward with that, did anyone want to comment on that 7.7 earthquake that just hit in what did it say, Japan? I'm trying to read too many things at one time. But if not, I mean, obviously we're seeing the Most High's word come true, and He's mixing it up. It's a fire here, it's a hailstorm there, it's a earthquake there, and it's all over the place. And even the Messiah said that there'll be earthquakes in diverse places, right? So we got to continue to pay attention. We don't have to cover it every week, but periodically, because it won't take us by surprise when the final consummation comes, because over the years, things have been ramping up. So if you're free and able to, Sister Joy, if you could just talk about, maybe even the article that you saw, or just some of the things you might have seen. I know you be seeing stuff because we be talking about it. So if you could, if not, no problem.
Shalom, family. Yeah, it's just like you're saying, Shamaria. It seems like everything's just ramping up, just everywhere. I don't really have a lot to add other than, I confirm, and validate what you're saying as far as, just, it seems like it's all over the place and it might not be, as I guess, in sequence, like we think it might be, but I know I'm noticing. And, like you were saying with the North Carolina fires, I'm like, I mean, I haven't been in North Carolina long, but all I remember is like California wildfires. I don't remember it being so many diverse places. And just the fact that I know Virgil was telling me, Kapa was telling me the other day with the place in, I guess, Western North Carolina where they got hit with the floods. They're now spraying the inhabitants there, the people that live there, with fire retardant. They're actually spraying them because of the fires. But I mean, of course, my conspiracy mindset is like, what exactly are they spraying them with? But it definitely seems and appears like judgment to me. But that's all I really have to add. But I'm just, just watching and praying for our salvation.
Absolutely. We about to get into that now, and I didn't forget about that video that you asked me to watch. I started watching it, but I couldn't. I didn't want to have my brain like influenced with whatever he was saying, and then trying to do this too. So I'll
It makes sense.
afterwards.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
So we've seen some of the signs, we've seen some of the things that the Most High said was going to happen, and I definitely wanted to cover that. And now I want to jump back into the Most High and a strange salvation. And when you really think about it, all of these salvations that we have seen and have recollection of or a record of, they're all strange. They're all unusual. because I didn't get, I didn't have enough. I was all over the place with my thinking and my mind. But next time, I want to show some words, other words that we could possibly use besides the word strange. But um, it's definitely some things out of this world that we would have never thought possible that we have seen. So let's just start with one of the salvations with Noah's Ark, and I'll turn to Genesis chapter 7. It's Genesis chapter 7. Because we just read these things and it's like we're used to them. But if you could just Selah and really lock in for a moment, really go to that secret place, that quiet place, and really imagine yourself in these situations, man, like it's really a strange salvation. So Genesis 7, starting at verse 2, it says, "Of every clean beast you shall take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and of beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female." So I started with that for a reason, just to learn something on the way to learning something. Notice how this is Noah's generation. This is before Mashah has received the commandments and things like that in Egypt. So notice how he commanded Noah to take every clean beast by 7 and every not unclean beast by 2. What would be the purpose of separating clean from unclean if there was no commandments before Moses, which is what the dogma or Christianity teaches us? Things like that. There was no law, there was no commandments, there was no 10 commandments or anything like that before Moses. So this right here is a proof text that the Most High has never changed. He always knew which animals he considered clean and unclean. So he separated them and brought in more clean animals than he did unclean. Did anyone want to comment on that?
I did. I was typing it, but it'll be faster just to say it. How would Noah know? Pretty much to put it what you said a different way, how would Noah be able to discern what was clean and unclean if there was no law in his time?
Absolutely.
Also I agree, and I just told Joyce as well. I really believe the Most High got us a cod, but two things that you said since I last spoke, listening to you. One, the prior salvations were also strange, and I use the example of Matazariah, but you're using Noah and his generation. So I agree with that as well. Of course, imagine walking outside and you seeing the firstborn of everything dead in the street. That is strange, but that's one, and two, you going into it now. So I'll yield for now. But we, I'm enjoying this so far.
All praises to the Most High. So yeah, man. Absolutely. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Shalaki. So just to kind of I'm not, I guess, slam me back or maybe like ask a question or kind of like, you know what I'm saying, put something out there for people who may not have caught what you were just saying about the law already being in effect. So I think from what I remember, the law, what we found through the Hebrew is simply the instructions of the Most High, and the law. Even Adam had the law, if I'm correct. So so is that what you were saying in that moment where you said that his when you were talking about Noah already knowing to separate the clean and unclean?
Right. The Most High. Basically, we know then the Most High was talking directly to them. So, um, yeah, basically what I'm saying is what you're saying, that the Most High already established with Noah and to Noah what his commandments and law was. Because if he told him to separate the beast from the clean from the unclean, how would he know which animals were considered clean and unclean if Moses ain't write Leviticus and Deuteronomy yet?
Uh,
Right. So yeah, we all on the same page. But it's just that's one of the things I learned just first coming into the covenant and reestablishing like what I'm actually to believe. And this really for me, it wasn't even complicated. It was just the fact that I never read it. I just went along with what they always taught us. So yeah, man, when you see stuff like that, it's like, well, how would he know what the differences were? And then we get to see which animals are clean and unclean through the writings later. But the Most High had been, and then also too, if we were to go further, like sacrificing, they were sacrificing before Moses, and the sacrifices are equated to the Most High's commandments, His law, His instructions. So, like sis said in the comments, every word that comes out of the Most High's mouth is commands. So, all praises for that. All praises for your witness and Nariah's witness as well. But I mean, like I said, that's one that we can go to and really help our family and friends, or at least show it to them with physical proof. Like, hey, something ain't right here. If you're saying what you're saying, this is saying something totally different. So just continuing on, verse 3, of the fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, to keep the seed alive upon the face of all the earth for yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and every living substance that I have made I will destroy from off the face of the earth. Even that is it's strange. Just for it to rain, and the people who didn't get the word from the Most High, they had no clue when the rain was going to stop. But for it to rain for 40 straight days, I mean, 1 day or 2 days of straight rain, a lot of places is done with flooding. So for 40 straight days and nights to just continue to rain like that, I mean, it's strange in itself. So verse 5, and Noah did according unto all that Yahawah commanded him. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters came upon him. And Noah went in, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him into the ark, because of the waters of the flood. So that was the only amount of people that was saved. Noah, his son's wife, Noah and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives, and then the animals, obviously, that they chose. That is a strange salvation. Let me drop down to verse 23. And every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and the creeping things, and the fowl of the Shemayim, and they were destroyed from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark, and the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. 150 days the water was stayed with the flood waters. And Nariah said, if he's not mistaken, he said it was the first time ever raining. So of course that will also be strange. Off the top of my head, I just I can't think if I've heard the same thing, but I will leave that for me to come back and confirm, the next time for sure, so I can like study it. So, but I've heard that same thing as well. Or if Abijah, if you could type it in the chat for us. But I can't confirm because I don't know off the top of my head. But I heard the same thing. So a strange salvation, absolutely, for the Most High to flood the earth to save Noah, his immediate close family, and afterwards we know the Most High gave him a sign that through the rainbow, when you see it, to know that he won't flood the earth again. That's why we're getting all these fires that's going on. The Most High is going to judge the world by fire this time. So going on to the next one is the Exodus. The Exodus, Israel's strange salvation. Our people's salvation coming out of Egypt. And we kind of been talking about this over and over, but that's what the Most High wants us to do. He wants us to talk about this thing over and over and over again. So just specifically, even like what we talked about last week, like what Nariah just brought forth, talking about the last plague, which was the death of the firstborn. I mean, that is absolutely strange for you to get a message to put the blood over your door, for the death angel or the Most High's tool or instrument that he's using to come and pass over the righteous with the blood on the door, but also destroy the firstborn of those that were not covered by that mark. I mean, imagine if we were sitting in our houses, we would just start hearing screams and people wailing and crying and in utter shock and disbelief, running out into the streets, dead in the streets, dead in their cars. It would just be unbelievable. It would be like a movie. It would be strange. It would be something unusual, out of this world. And this is how the Most High operates, to let us know that He is Him. He is real. So the one I wanted to bring out was verse 21. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yahweh caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all the night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. And the children of Yasharallah went into the midst of the sea upon dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. So the Most High had, through Moses, allowed the Israelites who were trapped with facing the army of the Egyptians on one side and facing the destruction of the ocean on the other side. And the Most High said, no problem, I got you. Just hold your hands up right quick. And He split the waters of the ocean and made it dry ground. And now y'all can just walk across. What? We read it and it's nothing to us now. It's nothing to us. No, this is absolutely amazing. This is unique. This has never ever happened in the history of the world before. And since then, they've made movies, adaptations, stories, fame, sham all around the world because of this. But it's most prevalent as a sign, a ta, to us, to His people. That's why we're supposed to keep talking about it, to have faith, to know, look what the Most High did before. He's gonna do it again. He's going to do it again. And there's some verses that say that. I just didn't put it in here this time, but maybe next time we'll get to that. So yeah, man, that's strange, man. That's amazing. Anybody want to comment on the Exodus or the parting of the sea, or the death of the firstborn? Awesome. So yes, and I like that comment because I literally saw that. Last night when I searched in my phone, but I was already kind of like towards the end. But it just started making me think like what other words I can use for strange. I wanted to use strange originally just because that's what Wisdom of Solomon used that word, but just going deeper and deeper at the end, I'm like, okay, so next time, what other words? Unusual, odd, curious, peculiar, bizarre, uncanny. So I did start seeing other words, and peculiar, because it says we're peculiar people, was a word that I saw as well. So all praises for that witness. And the Nariah said marvelous or terrible. Those are other words. And this is because I started thinking like they can't understand how we speak. So that's what made me decide that, okay, I'm going to use strange, but in English, strange might not be the best befitting for what it, even though how they use it all through the text. But speaking of that, that's what we're getting into next after I just wanted to cover the Messiah real quick. Um, Let me read this comment here. Oh yeah. Lena said awesome. So I agree with those, man. That was my last. I still got it pulled up on my phone. I started looking into adjectives or other words that could be used for strange, but I was already running on fumes at that point. So the last one I want to talk about is strange salvation through the Messiah, his death and his resurrection. So the Most High sent his Son to come on the earth out of his heavenly state that he had and to give his life for the nation, for our people, knowing that a number of them won't even believe in him, knowing that a good number of them won't accept him, but he still did it anyway. He made a way for us to reconnect back to the Father. And we know that he still has work to do as far as how he's going to continue to deliver us. Right now, he's given us the way back to the Father, but we know that he's going to physically get us back in right standing and back in our own land and back where we can worship the Most High in spirit and truth without fear of death or funny looks and all of these types of things from the other nations, right? So it was just foretold about the Messiah, obviously, in the book of Isaiah. Just a quick message here, then we get into the Shirash, over the Shirash Ibar, Isaiah 53, and Isaiah 53 and 3 through 5. It says, "He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and we hid it as it were our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of YAHAWAH, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our sins, our transgressions, and bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are all healed." We are all healed. That is very strange for the Most High to send his Son into the Arataza, into the earth, to be born through the womb of a woman, like all of us were, but to bestow upon him all might and power, for him to perform the Most High's will, the Most High's ways, to raise people from the dead, to turn water to wine, to increase the food when the food is running out. Man, the Most High has done miraculous things for his people. It's a miraculous salvation. It's a peculiar salvation. It's something that makes the people around, even us, but especially the nations, look and wonder in bewilderment, right? And just to confirm the Messiah real quick, one of our favorites, Matthews 1 and 21, just to get two witnesses, Matthew 1 and 21. "And she, being Mary, shall bring forth a son, and you shall call his name YAHAWAH, for he shall save his people from their sins." And that's another example of the name or title, and then the definition coming right after it. She shall bring forth a son, and we shall call his name YAHAWAH, for he shall save his people from their sins. The deliverer, the Most High salvation coming through his Son. So those are some examples of a peculiar, miraculous, strange salvation that we have seen, because remember, the Most High is the master of patterns, the master of mathematics, the master of rhythms. So he does a thing, and he's going to continue to do that thing over and over again. And he's shown us so many times how he's delivered and saved his people. So just in case, I definitely didn't want to shortchange anybody. If you wanted to just jump in and leave a comment, please feel free to do so. So the word today, family, is Zar, 2 characters. It is the Za and the Ra. The Za and the Ra. If you could, or if you're able to, you could either unmute or you could type it in the chat. What some of the word the meanings could be for the character Za? I got one, weapon. And that's what Joyce said. So Joyce got that. She said weapon in the chat. Abijah said pressed, absolutely. And I want to say this too. Say, everybody, if you can, say whatever you think, because I'm gonna tell you right now, this word right here was giving me the run for my money, because it can mean so many different things. So it's very unlikely that whatever you say is gonna be wrong. This word right here can mean so many different things, and it's so many different things that we only gonna talk about one today, but next time I'm gonna do it the same word but a different angle. So say whatever you're thinking. I'm reading them. I see pressed, I see weapon, I see vessel, I see shaped, I see refined, I see nourish and food. Okay, yeah, I know that comes from our notes right there, because I looked at that one too. Nourishment and food. I'm gonna show y'all. She said it could be praise, and I'm not gonna say that that's wrong. I didn't see that one or have that one. But I think, knowing what I could kind of see how that can work, so I'm not gonna say that that's wrong. Cut, absolutely. War, absolutely. And I'm just listing the rest of the ones that I had here: tool, sickle, harvest. And when it said food, it's like you could feed it. I saw you could like use it for feeding the animals. So that's how it's related to food or nourishment. It's a farming tool, so they could sometimes use it. But all of those are correct, man. I'm gonna just state real quick again. Somebody said weapon, pressed, shape, refined vessel, top tier, nourish, food, praise, cut, and war. So all of those are in line and on point on what this word can mean. And then also weapon, tool, sickle, harvest. So the Zah, it could represent a sickle, like a farming tool as well. So the Ra, we kind of all familiar with this one. It could be the head of a man. It can be a leader. It can be the highest, meaning the most high. It could also be the beginning of something. If y'all got anything, you could definitely type it in the chat as well. Joyce, she said first. Yep, it could be first or the beginning of something as well. And Second Chronicles 20 and 21, we read that King Yahawash instructed singers to go out in front of the army, praising and giving the Most High thanks. Absolutely. Basically, it would be representing an instrument from what you're saying. So you're absolutely right. Praise being the instrument and the weapon. That's why we got people like Zamaria and a lot of musicians being Zamaria. That's why I was like, yeah, I think like I said, my brain has been working OT. So absolutely, it's 100% correct, and I appreciate you bringing out the witness with it. And that's why we need each other, because one person can't remember everything. So all praises for that. So it's absolutely correct. An instrument would probably be the best English word when we try to describe it, and praise as well, because we use the instrument to praise or provide the function of praising. So absolutely correct on that. And that's why I said this word right here, we can use this thing in so many different ways in terms of how it's used. And this is one of the most common words used for strange, family. This is one of the most common words used for strange. We have a couple of other ones as well. and I double checked and triple checked, and it's most befitting when we're talking about the strangeness of the Most High salvation that this is most likely the word that would have been used. I got that information even from online searching, but also me going back and checking the other ones. So I was like, well, maybe the other ones might be easier, but I believe this would be the best, and it'll probably take us the next time to get even more into it. But this word can represent a lot, man. So anybody want to say what they believe for them that it means? Because most likely you're correct. Most likely you're not wrong. Somebody said a haircut. Technically, that's not wrong. That's not wrong. It's not wrong at all. It's not wrong on what these characters can mean, or like as this word can mean. It just depends on the context of how we're using it. Abijah, he said soldier. It could be like a man holding his instrument. I didn't think of that, but just when you said it, just seeing it, a man holding the weapon, the man holding the tool, a soldier. So that's really that's good. That's really representing and in line, because man, I ain't gonna say that yet, but that's good. That's good. Nobody's probably gonna be wrong here. That's why I want y'all to say, because this word, man, I was like, man, this is a lot. It's really a lot, for real. So I just want to see some guesses. I definitely want to see some what people think for sure. Because that soldier one just helped me out a lot.
Real quick, I'm kind of close to Abijah. I was thinking Czar was captain, like captain of the host, the refined vessel of the chief. So I was kind of thinking along the lines of what Abijah was.
Khan, nobody, you're not wrong, brother. You're not wrong. Like like a general, or the lead person, the highest weapon, the highest holder of the weapon, or with it being pressed, the one who went through the most affliction or the most refining. So I could see that too. That's why I said, and that's not even what I got or what I was thinking of. That's why I want to see what y'all are saying, because a lot of times it'll just pop right out. Once y'all say it, I can see it too. And this is just one of those ones where I saw how it could be so many different things. It wasn't I mean, I really haven't encountered a word like this in a minute, to where it could really be so many different things. A chief of war. I started and I finish it, beginning and the end, my brother. I am him. I love her, man. She is wild. That's what Joyce said, a chief of war. So that is not wrong. That is absolutely correct. That is absolutely correct. And I think this definition here is going to help us more towards the next, the part two, of what we're going to talk about. Because that's why I was saying, like, man, it's so much that we're going to have to talk about this again. Naraya.
Khan, yeah, real quick. I just looked it up on Google real quick because I was wondering like where I heard this from. And I just typed in, I said, is a czar a king? And it says, according to the AI overview, of course, and maybe Abijah can, or you or Abijah can elaborate on it at another time. It says, yes, a czar, also spelled Tizar or Caesar, is a title equivalent to emperor or king. So, I remember Abijah bringing up as far as Caesar being synonymous, and I don't want to twist up his words, so don't quote me. Being synonymous with the word Khazar, but that could this be where they got the word Caesar from, or Is that the context you think they might have been trying to use it in?
I think that they might have gotten that word from this, possibly. But I have heard czar, like I'm familiar with that. That's something that they use, especially like over in those overseas like countries and things like that. So I've heard of czar meaning like the czar of Ukraine or the czar of the Republic of Czechoslovakia or something like that. I've heard of that as a title or something like that before. So that makes sense. That's definitely in line for sure. So I agree. I agree with that. Like I said, it's probably likely that whatever y'all say is not gonna be wrong. It's just different connotations. So like I'm gonna give one that I don't have in the class. One, in terms of using this word as strange, because they use this word when Aaron's sons offered strange fire. So it was a czar fire, but the definition that I'm about to say is not even related to that either. But one, it kind of is actually. It kind of is. But so one of them that I was going to talk about the next time is to cut off the head. So when we talking about judgment and we talking about salvation, right? Esau is the end and Jacob is the beginning. The man holding the instrument, word is sharper than a two-edged sword, is going to cut off the head of rulership or authority and switch it over to a different authority. So to cut off the head or to change the dominion. And that's what the Most High did with Aaron's sons. He changed the dominion because they offered strange fire. He says Tazabah may just be Zabah. That's possible too, because I've heard someone I think say that it was Sabah with the sticker bush, but it could be Zabah as well. It's something that we got to look into. So with that being said, with this word, I double checked to see if it was Tazar just to make sure, but it wasn't. But that's a good point that you brought out. So Zar could mean to cut off the head. And why would that be peculiar or strange or leave the people in bewilderment is because it's like, wow, I never thought this rulership could be changed over. And that's what we're going to talk about for the next time. But for this time, I came up with the Most High's harvest or the chief's sickle / reaping. And let's just see as we go through this, because remember, nobody was wrong 1000%. Nobody was wrong at all. But the character here is often used as an agricultural term, like he does with everything else, a farming tool. And we're going to explore that, as we go through. So this is the word they use for stranger, and they kind of add words to it. Like when we used, I did want to say this, so this is a little bit backtracking, but I kind of remembered later. So remember last week at the end, I said YAHAWAH. I meant to show this down here at the bottom when it says Strong's definition. They have the awata. So they have it right there as awata, right there at the Strong's definition, awata, like the book of Revelation. But sometimes they add those things, and then I'll check the text on the Hebrew comparison, and the original Hebrew won't have that wa in the middle of it. So, but I just thought it was interesting that they had that there. So
it's shocking.
Like here, they do the same thing here, and they say zawar or something like that. But the original, it doesn't have that in it. It's just these two characters, and usually we go to the root anyway. So it just means to become a strange, another, stranger, foreigner, enemy. And it can also mean to be loathsome or to hate. And I'm gonna explore that next time. That part I'm gonna explore that next time. Strange woman, prostitute, harlot, all of these different things. But remember, this definition comes from people that are not our people, and this is one of those words where I found that I couldn't necessarily directly off the rip relate it straight to stranger itself, but it still makes sense how it's used when you're talking about a peculiar salvation. When you look at the functions of what these characters do, and then you start reading about what is to come, if that makes sense. So hopefully it makes sense as we continue to explore this, because the more you learn, the more you see that these translators are not always right, and they really don't really know really what's going on. And as more I'm getting more seasoned, I'm understanding what Abijah has been saying. And even with the searching, I was explaining to him, like ChatGPT, Grok, all these different AIs, they're only going to give you the most common information first. And I started asking certain questions, and it'll come back and say, wow, that's profound, that's an interesting way to look at it. And then they'll come back later and give the information that I was actually looking for. So we can't just trust the sources without praying and going to the Most High. Like, we have to go to the Most High, and then we have to read the context for witnesses of what we have and things that's around us, because just because it's on the internet doesn't mean that it's true or exact. Because I've really been finding some things, like I was asking a question about comparing the fire or the judgments from Abraham to Barak, and they couldn't find what I was trying to say. And then I told them what I was trying to say, and I said, why you ain't say that at first? And it's just because it's a man-made program. They can't, they don't know everything. They don't know exactly what the Most High may even put on your mind and your heart. So just because we got the tools like a calculator, you still got to know what to use and how to use it and what to put in it. And be strong in your faith and belief. So all praises for that. So using this, speaking on the Zah as a sickle, and obviously the sickle would be held by the man, the chief, the highest, YAHAWAH, or YAHAWAH's sickle, YAHAWAH's instrument that he's choosing to use, things like that. So according to ScienceDirect.com, and you could just pop it in on Google as well, it says the ancient sickle was a crescent-shaped curved blade perfect for slicing through stalks of wheat, barley, and other grains. So let's lock in on the agriculture. Let's lock in on, because that's what the Most High how he talks to us. He talks about reaping and sowing. He talks about gathering and harvest. He talks about all of these things. Even with the feast, everything he does is by the Moadim, and some people say Moadim. So now that what we said before is correct, but we're gonna attack that next time. Let's lock in on the agriculture and let the Most High work in your mind in terms of this. So it says it was small and operated with one hand, allowing the farmer to gather the stalks with the other. So one hand I can cut, the other hand I can grab. And it says sickles are also known as bagging hooks, grass hooks, or reaping hooks, a tool used to reap something, a strange salvation. Let's keep going. So the way that it was used, it says reaping or cutting the stalks, the farmer would grip a handful of grain of stalks with one hand and slice them near the base with the sickle. So we just talked about that. The gathering. The cut stalks were bundled into sheaves, like the wave offering, threshing, separating the grain from the chaff, beating or crush the harvested grain to separate the edible part, the good part, the righteous, from the husk, the tare. We're going to get into it. Did anybody want to have a comment about that before we move forward? If not, y'all know what to do. Just jump in anytime. We're going to jump to Jeremiah 51 and 33 and see about the Most High in terms of salvation when he's talking about the harvest and talking about using the sickle. I knew this one. I mean, this one, like I said, it's a little more difficult, I would say, or it's not as simple as some of the others, I would say. But it started making sense to me. So Jeremiah 51 and 33, let's see if I want to get any context to it. Not really. So we know that it's talking about the judgment here, the judgment of the daughter of Babylon. And it talks about the kings of the Medes, which we see right now they are beefing with Iran. So verse 28 says, prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, which is Iran, the captains thereof. So captains, like y'all said, czars, and the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And when we go down, it says, for thus saith Yahawah Tazabah, the Most High of Yasharallah, the daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her, yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. So in the end, the judgment that's to come upon the daughter of Babylon, which in turn is salvation for us, they're going to receive a threshing, which is done by the Most High's tool, the Most High's weapon, the Most High's sickle, the Zah, the chief's sickle for the Most High's harvest. And this harvest that Jeremiah is talking about specifically is the culmination of the judgment for the daughter of Babylon. Now, another witness. Let's go to Joel 3. Shalom, sis. See you soon. So let's go to Joel 3. Let's go to Joel 3. And Joel 3, it starts off in verse 1. It says, behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. That means our salvation. And it says, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat or Yahawah Shaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, Yasharallah, whom they have scattered among the nations and have parted my land. So the Most High is going to bring the other nations down to the valley of judgment to judge them for what they did to his people. And if we continue to scroll down, it says, assemble yourselves, verse 11. Assemble yourselves and come, all you heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahawah. Let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Yahawah's judgment, Yahawah Shaphat. For there I will sit to judge all the heathen round about. So again, it's giving you the definition after, is giving you the definition right after the word Yahawah Shaphat. For I will sit, for there I will sit to judge all the heathen around about. Verse 13, put in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. The Most High's harvest. The Most High's harvest. The Most High's harvest, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. So again, the word can be related to the sickle or the harvest, because as we see here, it's talking about our salvation in the beginning, the regathering of the nations of Yashar'Allah, and at the same time, the other nations shall be judged. And he's continuing to say, put in the sickle and the heart, because the harvest is right. So he's using that sickle, that instrument, that zah, thrust it into the ground so that he can cut off the head of the other nations, to change the other nations, to change the order that's about to come. But it goes on, and this thing gets further explained. So let's go to Matthew, where we get the words of the Messiah in Matthew chapter 13. Matthew chapter 13. Matthew 13, starting at 24. He says, and another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which soweth good seed in his field, but while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then have it tares? He said unto them, An enemy have done this. The servant said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go up to gather them? But he said, Nay, lest while you gather up the tares, you also root up the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. What harvest? The Most High's harvest. The czar, the strange salvation, the peculiar salvation, the miraculous salvation. And in the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers. The czar can also mean a reaping tool. A reaping tool. He says that I will say to the reapers, and just so y'all know, the reapers are the angels, and he's going to talk about that. Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them up into bundles. Bind them up into bundles. The sickle was used to cut the stalks, and then they were gathered into bundles. Let both grow together until the harvest. In the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather together first the tares and bind them into bundles and burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. If you review the word patak, the door, to go through that portal and to be marked and then placed in the barn, or placed in the field, to be placed inside the gates. This is that same thing. Gather up the wicked to burn them. Gather up the wheat, the righteous, to place them in my barn. And they use threshing and they use the sickle. It says to separate the edible part from the husk. That's like taking the tares and burning them, and then taking the edible part and putting it inside the barn, or inside of the protected place of the Most High, the Messiah. So then he goes on to explain this. So I don't have to explain it because he goes on to explain this. Verse 36. Then Yahushua, Jesus, sent the multitude away and went into the house. And his disciples came unto him, saying, Declare unto us the parable of the tares in the field. He answered and said unto them, He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. A strange salvation. The salvation at the end of the world, the harvest of the end of the world. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, the reapers, the ones that's carrying the reaping tools, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire, and there shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous shall shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. So we see here that the sickle, the harvest, the word reap, gather, all of these agricultural terms can be represented by Zah and the word in completion, the Zar, in relation to salvation at the end of the world, because the Most High is going to use his sickle, his reaping tool, to separate the righteous from the unrighteous, and it's going to be strange to the ones who are not paying attention. It's going to be strange to the other nations. It's going to be a salvation for the Most High's people, but it's going to be peculiar to the others. So before we go to the last one, did anyone have a comment about that so far?
All right, real quick, real quick. I what you just said regarding the Most High judging, Yahweh being the door, and even just to get to the door, going back to your class, your Patak class, in order to get to the door to Yahweh, and he been saying it. The only way to me is if the Father calls you, but the only way to the Father is by me. So it's like you just got to be chosen. I started putting notes down on it, and I hope that made sense. But it's essentially just the Most High choosing who He wills to even come to the door in order to come through. But I'll get with that.
And in terms of like agriculture, then, which I think this next part is going to cover a little bit of what you was just saying, and that what I'm thinking, you would have had to have been planted and cultivated first, like what Matthew 13 is saying. He was sowing good seed. He was growing. He was working on Israel. He was working on Yasharallah, getting them right for the harvest to come at the end. And then the enemy came through Satan and mixed in with the righteous and the wicked mixed together. And we know that we of our own people got righteous and wicked mixed together. But he's gonna come in the end and separate the edible parts from the dusk and burn them and save the rest. So I kind of get what you're saying. You had to have been a part of being cultivated in the first place, or chosen, or appointed to come to the Father, which to get to him this time we have to go back through his son. So I know that could be a lot, but I believe that is in line with what you're saying. So the last one on this, and then I have a preview of what's coming for the next time, short preview. So it's like 2 slides left. But Revelation chapter 14 starting at verse 12. Revelation 14, starting at verse 12, says, "Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of the Most High and the faith of YAHAWAH. And I heard a voice from the heavens saying unto me, Write, blessed are the dead which die in Yahweh, or which die in Adonai from henceforth. Christ. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and having in his hand a sharp sickle." Czar. A man with a crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel, messenger, came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice that to him that sat on the cloud, "Thrust in thy sickle and reap," a reaping tool, "for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest, the salvation, is ripe." The salvation is ripe. The harvest of the earth is ripe. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar, which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sickle, said, "Thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe." And the angel thrust in his sickle in the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of the Most High. And the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the winepress, even unto the horse's bridle, by the space of 1,600 furlongs. So just in case anybody was confused, for that last reaping with the sickle was to be thrust into the judgment, to be thrust into the fire, to be thrust into the winepress and trodden down. And it used the term, "Gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe." Just so there's not any confusion, we know that the Most High planted one perfect plant to cultivate, and he used grape, or the vine grape, or the grape of the vine, in terms of speaking about Israel or his people. But remember, in 2nd Ezra, he said he chose one grape of the cluster. Let me go ahead and read it just to make sure I'm saying it right. 2nd Ezra chapter 9. Yeah. So verse 21 in 2nd Ezra 9, he said, "I saw and spared it greatly, and have kept me a grape of the cluster, a plant of a great people." Out of all the clusters, he chose a grape of the cluster, and from that, a plant of a great people. So when it says here, "the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe," it's talking about everybody else. The wicked ones from us included, but everybody else. Because he chose one grape of the cluster. This is, "Thrust in thy sickle and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth." Everybody else, because the harvest is here. The salvation is here. A strange salvation. It's going to be peculiar to everyone. So before I transition, even though we're going to be talking about the same thing, because we're gonna, to us, what would be strange or peculiar makes more sense could make more sense in the next way that we're going to talk about. But I wanted to cover this first because a lot of times those characters are functions of something. They're used a lot of times in agricultural terms for what our people would understand, especially from that time period. But obviously, the language covers a multitude of eternity, and we see that the Most High is using this language all the way from the beginning to the end, even including it in the salvation. He's talking about reaping. He's talking about using the sickle. He's talking about treating Babylon, the daughter of Babylon, as a threshing floor, which you would have to use the weapon to thresh. So I hope that makes sense for Czar. But it's something to continue to study that we can all be enlightened by. But did anybody have a comment about that before we switch to the last two slides? If not, no problem. So in the future, we'll continue to explore this because it's a lot to it. And come at it with why would this be loathsome to the other people? And I started thinking, well, it's going to be great for us, but the others are going to hate it. And there's some verses in there in the scriptures that talk about those who loathe my law, or those who despise my law, and things of that nature. So we're going to cover it from that aspect as well. And then I just wanted to leave off with a strange salvation. Why would it be even strange or peculiar to us, those who hope and plan to experience it? And I'm going to leave off with the preview for this with just a more feel-good message, and that's going to be Isaiah 35 in totality. Isaiah 35 in totality. So just gonna leave off with that, and play the last slide, and then we'll close out. So, a strange salvation, peculiar salvation, miraculous salvation. Isaiah 35:1. It says, "The wilderness and the solitary place shall be glad for them, and the desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose. It shall blossom abundantly and rejoice, even with the joy and singing. The glory of Lebanon shall be given unto it. The excellency of Carmel and Sharon, they shall see the glory of YAHAWAH and the excellency of our power. Strengthen ye the weak hands and confirm the feeble knees. Say to them that are of a fearful heart, be strong and fear not. Behold, your Elohim will come with vengeance, even Elohim with a recompense. He will come and save you." Salvation. "The eyes of the blind shall be opened, the ears of the deaf shall be unstopped. Then shall the lame man leap as an hart, and the tongue of the dumb sing. For in the wilderness shall waters break out, and streams in the desert." Peculiar salvation. "And the parched ground shall become a pool, and the thirsty lands of springs of water. In the habitation of dragons, where each lay, shall be grass with reeds and rushes, and a highway shall be there, and a way, and it shall be called the way of holiness. The unclean shall not pass over it, but it shall be for those, the wayfaring men, though fools shall not err therein. No lion shall be there, nor any ravenous beast shall go up thereon. It shall not be found there, but the redeemed shall walk there, and the ransom of YAHAWAH shall return and come to Tazawan with songs and everlasting joy upon their heads. Zar, with everlasting praise upon their heads. They shall obtain joy and gladness, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away." A strange salvation. So when we see reeds of water, reeds of vegetation and streams of water coming out of places that we wouldn't have known that water could come out of, that is going to be peculiar and strange and miraculous to us. So all of this in culmination so far, as we will continue this and come at it from some of the other angles about the changing of the guard and the cutting off the head of the current rulership and things like that, as well as, you know, the goodness and the peculiarness of the Most High's ways. As we started in the beginning, we saw Noah saved through the ark and his family. We saw the Israelites in Egypt saved through the plagues, and then allowing Moses to part the sea. And we saw how he sent the Messiah to save and reconcile us back to him. Those are all strange salvations. Those are all miraculous salvations and peculiar in how the Most High moves. And he's telling us that he's going to do the same thing for us in the future. So we just read Isaiah chapter 35, and just going to play this last video, and then that'll be the end of the presentation. And if anybody has any comments, we can do so before we close out.
The Sahara Desert is flooded. Did the Bible warn us? One of the driest places on Earth, the Sahara Desert, has been completely transformed by heavy rains in recent days. But what does this mean? According to the Bible, in Isaiah 35:1, it states, "The desert and the parched land will be glad. The wilderness will rejoice and blossom like a rose." Are we witnessing the fulfillment of prophecy? Over 250 millimeters of rain fell in just 2 days, forming lakes in the dunes and baffling meteorologists. The last time something like this was recorded in the Sahara was over 30 years ago. But now, with intense climate changes and abnormal patterns, some believe these events are not just natural phenomena, but a sign of something greater. And the most unsettling part, some theorists suggest that this change in the Sahara's climate could be just the beginning of more significant transformations on Earth. If this continues, the Sahara could completely change its ecosystem in the coming year. Is this merely a coincidence?
So they've seen rain and things of that nature in that area before. But again, we've seen how the Most High does things over time, for one, and then for two, they haven't seen this type of change happen in such a short period of time. And this is not saying that this is the thing or this is it. It's just giving us a visual or microcosm, an idea of what could be. Because I always have, that's my personal, this is not scripture, this is just my personal opinion, that all that desert and all that stuff over there is going to turn to plush green land, because it says that the earth is pretty much waiting on the return of Israel, the righteous, the true Israel, back to its state and its true, self. So that's just my own personal thought. That's not any scripture that I'm showing you or anything like that. But just to coincide with that video here, and this was just in 2024, last year. All of this with the heavy rains, and now they're starting to see animals and vegetation grow, in that area. And it says Mecca and Medina are turning green due to heavy rainfall, and that's from Times of findia.com, and you can just type the subject in on the internet. Obviously it's going to pop up, but it says recent heavy rains in the Saudi desert near Mecca and Medina birthed a lush oasis attracting locals, visitors, wildlife, showcasing biodiversity. Just reading the article a little bit, it says, in the arid landscape of the Saudi desert, an astonishing yet unusual sight has emerged, a vibrant green oasis courtesy of recent heavy rains. This remarkable transformation captivated both locals and visitors alike, which turned the once barren landscape into a lush haven of flourishing flora. Heavy rains have given new birth to these barren landscapes, making them blossom in myriad hues of green. The sudden burst of life amid the desert's harsh conditions bear witness to nature's resilience. Okay, that's a bunch of blah, 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 what they're saying. But to me, this type of thing is a visual of what the Most High said is going to happen in Isaiah chapter 35. And when we put all these things together, we're seeing all the signs, we're seeing the culmination of things, and it don't mean that it's going to happen tomorrow or anything like that, but we know that the Most High salvation is coming. That's what our hope is in, and He's given us a picture, an idea of what some of the miraculous things are going to look like, and we're going to continue to talk about those as well. Even the grapes, he's saying, is going to be times 10,000 the size of what we know grapes to be today. So we're going to talk about some things to why it would be considered strange. Why would it be considered peculiar or miraculous? And this is just a preview. This was just part one. I felt like it could be, we could take it in so many different ways with this word. But I definitely wanted to start off with the gathering, the reaping, the harvesting, and using the sickle to separate the righteous from the unrighteous. And that is one of the definitions of the word zar, the Most High's harvest, or the Most High's reaping, the Most High's sickle. So all praises to the Most High for allowing us to get through another Shabbat class. All praises for Him giving me the strength to do this and be able to try to my best to put forth what I'm seeing in my mind and what He's showing me to make it plausible for you all. So does anyone have any comments, questions, or anything about anything that we spoke on today so far?
Con, if I could, I'm outside, so I apologize if it's traffic, but I just want to say that all praise to the Most High for this class that He put on you. It was very edifying for me. I did want to ask a question to everyone. I heard this a few years ago, and I didn't know if anybody had actually looked more into it. I personally haven't found anything, but I'm always open for any new information. So I saw years back there was it was just a video that I just so happened to stumble across, and it was talking about the Sahara Desert. And somehow, I can't remember, it so long ago, someone had made the connection that it was the Sarah Desert or Shiraz Desert, and it was dedicated to our mother Sarah on behalf of Abraham. Has anybody else looked into something like that?
I know for me, I personally haven't got any details or anything about it, so I wouldn't really know anything further than that. That would be pretty interesting, though, I would say. But that's just my perspective.
Con, because I do believe I agree with you as far as that the desert and dry ground becoming a lush, just fruitful land. I actually had a dream about it a few years back, but um, not saying that that's right either. But I can definitely see places like that because if I'm not mistaken, the Sahara Desert is the biggest desert in the earth. So for something like that to happen, for it to be desolate, and now that it's just plenteous, I can definitely see that, especially if, the geography as far as what we've been taught, there's some changes and differences and, you know, things of that nature. But I'll yield. All praises.
All praises, all praises. Appreciate you. Did anybody else have any comments or questions about anything? I think I saw there might have been Yashar, Jesher, or Lena.
Shalom family. I just wanted to say all praise to the Most High, and the water for you sharing this word. I know you mentioned earlier, even though are facing those moments of being refined, just the humility to still put this out, it helped me a lot. Lena even mentioned when you're talking about how Abba picked the one grape of the cluster, she used the term cherry picking. And it just took me back. Like, just remember when we would play ball. You know, you would try to pick the best people on the team. You know, and you really trying to win the game. You're not just picking anybody. And it just remind me how Abba he's looking for that in us. You know, he already knows he's going to win. You know, he just wants people who is just as invested in this as he is. So, you know, just all praises for the lesson at the water. You know, for the awesome reminders you gave through it too. All praises.
All praises. I appreciate that. Um, for sure. Yeah, man. It's with especially like still learning. Like it's like you're learning and trying to explain it to somebody at the same time. So like we're all learning together, and sometimes it's gonna be a little bit more complicated for us being separated from our ancient ways than some words. And this was one of those words that I'm like, man, I could use this word in 1,000 ways. Like that's why each character has so many different definitions and functions that it could be used for. Uh, but then also too, we got to comb through like what we receiving from the heathen as well. So it's just a lot, man. But I felt edified and on the right track looking at the functions of the characters and then seeing how the Most High in judgment and the time of gathering and in the time of harvest is going to he keeps using the sickle, using reaping and gathering and separating the wheat from the tares and cutting and gathering the bundle of sheaves and all of these things. So it helps me be strong in being on the right track. Did anybody else have a comment? Now, Tazabah said he really enjoyed this, Khan, and that like really seeing these words and seeing the functions, that's motivates me, that helps push me like further in this. And I think earlier, this is just a sidebar, earlier Sister Joyce, she said she appreciated the visuals that I try to do. And it's funny, it's like I'll have all this stuff in my head, but I can't really get it going in presentation form until I got at least one nice visual up there. It's like the visual sets me on the path to getting it together. Like even last week when I thought about the mark and the sign and the covenant, and then I thought about doing the tablets of stone with the commandments on it. Once I got that on the PowerPoint, then I was able to like get flowing. So the visuals help me, and I appreciate it, as well. So I appreciate that that comment that you said earlier. Did anybody else have any comments or anything? He says our culture really trumps Greek education. It really does, because like we've said before, Greek is so abstract with everything, but the way the Most High operates with us and with the language, everything is concrete, it's functional, it's like you could physically see it or use it or understand it. Like we could see if the rod represents the head of a man or a man holding, and then the za is representing like a tool or an instrument. Like we could see how that is provided in terms of what it does if a person is to reap or a person is to gather something. So um I definitely agree. And then trying to break out of the Greek education. That's kind of why when I came to the end, I'm like, well, what's another word I could use besides strange? Because maybe the translators who said they shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, maybe they, because we didn't use the word strange. We used whatever word that was used. We can't really verify the script from that text like we can some of the text that is in the conventional 66. But we can see that a lot of times they may just not, they're using the best word that they could think of at that time. So it just gets me to start thinking outside the box, like what else could this mean versus just what it would sound like in English. I know that's kind of confusing, but it kind of is what it is at that point. Did anyone else have just any comments about anything that we've said thus far?
Shabbat Shalom, family. I pray I can be heard. I'm on the road, but based on just everything that I heard today, this is just a blessing. And it just made me really see that parable of the sower so clear. And just understanding, like, most people would think it'd be strange to keep the wheat and the tares together, but it was almost like he was saying, don't do that, because he has control over, even with them growing together, he has control over that ending in us breaking down like the I and the tie, and just everything that I'm kind of thinking of in my head is hard to explain, but it's just a blessing to know that Israel or Yasharallah means that much to the Most High. And so just listening to everything, like I said, of what I could hear today, this is a beautiful class. And I pray that the Most High continues to keep all of you, Marah and the Akyam that's bringing the word together. He continues to keep y'all in that secret place of him being able to reveal what it is that needs to be said to his people, because it's so necessary. And so I'm just grateful for you all and your obedience to continue to spread the light, spread his word, and just continue to challenge us to keep digging deeper. Because I pray, that I ultimately get to that point where these revelations are just popping in my head and I'm able to just make it make sense. And so I'm just grateful for you all. I'm grateful for, the Mashapak, and I pray that everybody just continues to stay girded in the word. These days is tough, but the Most High has us, so all praises.
All praises for that. And yeah, I appreciate that. Definitely pray. Because this one, boy, I was like, yeah, it's probably about time for a break. And it was really because my brain, I was just thinking like of so many things at once, of like, what do I want to say and how do I want to say it? And all of this stuff was just, it was hard to streamline it. And eventually I did, with the focus on the harvesting. But um this topic is just vast when it comes to the salvation of the Most High's people, and it should be that way. um and it was just like, why, what makes it peculiar, what makes it strange? And when you see how the Most High operate, it's like he always does this, he always operates that way, makes water come out of a rock. That's strange, that's peculiar. So all praises for that, man. I'm glad that, the Most High is bringing me through, and I hope, as you guys continue to read and study, that, we bring out more revelations together. Nariah?
Khan, just to land me back off what George just said, if you think about it, this whole class, Yahweh been saying it the whole time in regards to the harvest, reaping, letting them grow up together. And, I just wanted to comment on, the importance of being watchful in these times, because what is one of the biggest distinguishing factors when it comes to discerning a wheat from a tare? And I'm asking y'all, one of the biggest discerning factors is you look at it and you can look at the countenance of a tear. It withers, it gets dark, it starts to shrivel up, where the wheat is like a nice golden brown. But before the tear is made manifest, it looks like wheat. It does have that nice golden brown uh consistency when you look at it, but in the time of harvest it becomes manifest. And I say all those things to say, even in the walk, there are those even among us in the walk that have that nice stature, being able to, look the part and even walking it at a certain point. But in the time of harvest, those sons and daughters of perdition will be made manifest. So it's up to us to discern and either, talk to them to get them to repent or stay away from them before, that corruption rubs off on us and we, stray away. So I just wanted to add on to that as far as what Joyce said.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's just a lot to that reaping and the sowing and the gathering and the harvest, man. But he made that parable so clear. I just appreciate how they'll go back and they'll really explain it. But I really enjoyed seeing how I focused on the sickle, and then I seen when I looked it up through what they defined it as on like Science Direct and online, you know, is also called a reaping hook. So that character could be a reaping hook, and if the Ra is representing the Most High, and the Most High is the one in charge, that he's the one that did the planting. So if he's the one that did the planting, he's the czar of his land that he cultivated, or his kingdom, period. But he's the czar over his garden that he planted, the garden. So like for him, with czar, him the highest holding the reaping tool, using instruments to do the reaping, and then reading Jeremiah 51, reading Revelations 14, reading Matthew 13, Joel 3, especially Joel 3, because Joel 3 talks about the salvation right at the beginning, even before he mentions the threshing, the reaping, or any of that, or the harvest, or any of that. It just connects it to being a Zar Hawashai or Zar salvation. It just makes it make more sense for me with that when I seen that. So all praises for that. We got he said didn't mean to say simply as in easy. He said we have to simply think like Ibarian people, and he said he didn't mean simply as if it was easy. It takes dedication and practice. Yeah, Khan, I definitely understand what you were saying and what you're trying to say. I didn't take it as any type of offensive, but it is wise to clarify that. And yeah, it takes a lot of, like, you forget sometimes, like it takes some time to, like, you don't even know what questions to ask, because we're so separated sometimes from the Most High. But we're continuing to be dedicated to the Most High and his word and his ways, and we're learning. He's unraveling things for us as far as the language is the key. So that's why I'm trying to do it every week, like or whenever the language change everything. Because if we just try to use the pagan tongue that we know, it really doesn't really show the power of what the Most High is trying to say. Because if we spoke Hebrew fluently, a lot of these parables and witnesses and prophecies would be so much clearer for us, because they're using he was not trying to speak to confuse the ones he was really trying to give the message to. It's just that sometimes they were blinded, sometimes he would wait and come back and pull his people to the side and speak to them plainly. But a lot of our prophets with Barak and Ezra and Isaiah, the Most High usually will tell you exactly what he's saying. So all praises to the Most High for that. And it will all be in Hebrew and we will all understand it. It's just now we got to go through like the translations, and not being Eastern minded people, but a Western minded people. So we kind of got to reverse how we've been thinking and been taught. Nariah says it is why we are commanded to meditate on it night and day and not let it depart out of our mouth. Exactly. It takes diligence. And it says, when you do, I believe that's where these big revelations come from. It starts with the Most High putting the pieces together for you in your mind. And that is exactly what happens to me. It's in my mind first. And it's like, oh, you see that? Well, what about this? Well, then read that. That's why you need, like, I ain't gonna say the bad part, but the difficult part about this, it takes a lot of solitude. It takes a lot of isolation, so you could be quiet, be in a quiet place so you can listen and hear what the Most High is trying to say. Or, you know, when you're reading a word, you could be at work and got your headphones on or whatever the case may be and listening to the word. And that's the quiet place right there. So it definitely takes meditation, prayer, things like that for the Most High to reveal these revelations. It kind of leads you on a trail of breadcrumbs from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And if you've been studying and you've been reading and you've been listening and paying attention, it's like you will be able to recall. Like, I'm not the best at saying Genesis 5 verse 17 says X, Y, and Z, but I'll know what it's supposed to say or what it says. So like if I see one concept, I'll be like, oh, and Joel 3 says this, and then Jeremiah says that. And or we got the internet too, and sometimes that can just help you put the pieces together as well. But the more you let this information get inside you, the more you'll be able to recall, like, oh, I heard that he said it's going to be judgment by fire in Revelation, and also Isaiah 66. But also he says it in 2nd Baruch chapter 27. Also he says it in Apocalypse of Abraham chapter 30. And it just comes from over time, like letting the Most High's word become a part of who you are. Yashar or Jesher?
Khan, Salakia, all praises. I just have one more question, not just hearing what you were saying, what Nariah as well was saying about the wheat and tares, and what you said earlier, that when we gather the wheat, isn't it just the head of the wheat that we gather?
I would have to look it up and see. Does anybody know? Amaniah? Let me search it real quick.
And I was just asking because I just know, it talks about in Revelations about how the saints, how they'll be beheaded, and they'll wait for, their redemption. I was just wondering if there's any connection between, like the physical reaping the heads of the wheat and, spiritual, you know, the saints getting beheaded in those times.
It says that they gather the entire stalk, like what we talked about earlier. It's used to cut the stalks and then gather them together as bundles or sheaves. So we gather the whole stem, but the head is a part of the most important part where a lot of the edible part is. So, like we said earlier, how we use, let me click that. And then, 1 second. Um, so like earlier, when it says the farmer would grip a handful of grain stalks with one hand and slice them near the base. So we slice them near the base and then gather them into a bundle. And then if you do the threshing, it separates the edible part from the husk. But you first gather the whole thing.
Con, the water, that makes sense.
Con.